Hi, my beautiful lovelies. Welcome to my memoirs and a few pages from my diary. So, welcome to a new vlog. It's another day, though it's the same week from our my last video. So it's just a continuation of that. So I remember on this day, my stone, the one that I use for my firewood jiko area, broke into two, as you can see. I have stones in the compound, a few of them, I think around 3, but I usually use them for sitting because I don't have stools. So I didn't want to use those particular stones to replace these ones. So I just had to figure out a way of how I'm going to use the same ones which are not stable enough, and yeah, make lunch, because on this day that was the only thing that was holding me back from making lunch, and I had to do it a bit quickly because the kids were they were already complaining that they were feeling hungry and I was holding them back. So I'm just going to take you through my cumbersome process of how I managed to do that with whatever materials that I had. This is my normal day-to-day process of how I start lighting my firewood. I usually scrape off the ash from the previous day or from the previous meal, and the disadvantages of that I've come to notice is that I am making that hole deeper by the day. I have to do something about that because you see that the stones are slanting forward and it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be flat. So I'm planning to think of a way of how I'm going to, make it a bit level and equal. Yeah. I usually just put in I tear up some paper. This is a used up bandari. When I go to the shop, I usually ask the shopkeeper if they can lend me these in Kiswahili they're called bandaris. I don't know in English what they're called. The packaging that's used to put either maize flour or wheat flour. Yeah, so that whole big package, that's what I usually borrow so that it can aid me in lighting up the jiko or the firewood. Afterwards, of course, I go in with my supporting documents or the small twigs and small pieces of firewood that I usually gather from around our compound, which of late have been very hard to find because of the rains, and now that everything is fresh and green, it's not easy to come across dry twigs. So that's another problem of using firewood, but either way I managed to get them somehow. So I went in with that, and now this is where the tricky part came in, because I started to figure out how I'm going to lay these stones in such a way for them to be stable enough to support a sufuria. And mind you, I have different sizes of sufuria. So there are the small ones, and there are the middle ones, and there are the big ones. So I had to find a way to fit, one size fits all. Yeah, it was quite challenging. So after much going up and down, back and forth, this is what I came up with for the stones. And I realized that because of the hollow in between, there was no way they could be too close, so it was such a wide space in the middle. So I just went and took my old grill that I used to use for gas. Now that I don't use gas anymore anyway, it's just lying around. So I went and took that and decided to place it on top of the stones for the sake of the small sufurias, because for the big ones they could fit very much comfortably, but for the small ones they'll have to touch the firewood, and for that they won't be stable enough. Yeah, so I had to go in with my grill. I did not want to use this grill because I know with fire, this kind of fire usually burns, is it luminous or non-luminous flame? It brings out that yellow orangey flame, which is produces a lot of soot. So I knew in the end this grill is not going to be something that will be attractive to look at. But either way, I didn't have any other option. I just had to use that for the time being. So as you can see, with the big sufuria, it fits very well, and even without the grill, the bigger sufurias can still fit. So for the sake of the small sufurias, I had to go in with the grill. After taking care of the stand and how the stones should be arranged, I went and got some slimmer twigs to aid in lighting the fire. So I usually take those ones and put on top of the supporting documents, and then now put the bigger pieces of firewood on top, and then now put the sufuria. So for this case, I was using a smaller sufuria. I wanted to fry some okra, so of course that's the hollow or the space in the middle was too wide, so I had to use the grill, and I decided to put it upside down, because if I put it the other way around, the distance between the space between the fire and the sufuria will be too much, and the fire won't be efficient enough. Yeah, that's the reasoning that I had behind it. So I decided to put it upside down. And this is just the normal way that I usually light my fire. I just light a piece of paper, and then light the previous pieces of paper which are beneath, and then those ones will light the supporting documents. The supporting documents will set the twigs on fire, which in return will now set the logs or the bigger pieces of firewood on fire, and so forth and so on. It has been quite an experience cooking with firewood. I have, considering that I've never done this before in my entire life. So, but all in all, what I don't like about firewood is washing the sufurias. The soot sufurias. Ooh, mashizi soot. I hate that. I know that cooking with firewood is so messy. As in, you will just know from your utensils that you used firewood, because everything, whenever you touch the sufuria, then you touch a dish or a plate or a cup, it leaves the residue, the soot on it, and it's very hard. Okay, it's not very hard, but it's hard to wash. Let me just say it's hard to wash, removing that, as compared to cooking with the normal other ways that we know. Either way, it's a beautiful experience, because it makes you feel closer to your roots, and makes you feel, experience what our ancestors used to feel like when they were preparing food. It's a very original method of cooking, and very authentic. It's usually a very quick process. It doesn't take a long while, which is the good part about lighting firewood. Though the biggest disadvantage of using firewood is the smoke. Whoa, I'm telling you, the smoke, it is just on another level. It is too much. And one of the plans that I have is to have an outside kitchen. It is much more, it comes in handy more than cooking inside, because this is the main house. But originally we were supposed to have an outside kitchen, which we'll have sooner or later because of the smoke. Yeah, it is this is where I prefer charcoal and gas to firewood. I know firewood is free and all, it is easily available, but its disadvantages, some of them are not that good, and it makes you want other options apart from firewood. With the rainy season, firewood also doesn't come easy because everything tends to get wet. Firewood is a very rich resource where you're supposed to plant, whenever you cut down a tree, you're supposed to plant at least 3, which is something I am guilty of not doing. But apart from that, well, it is a good way of cooking because the food has a very different taste from the normal food that we make with charcoal and gas. It has an earthy, woody taste, which makes it very sweet. Yeah, the aroma is usually, you just know this food is made from firewood. It is different from food that is made with either charcoal or gas. You see that? Yeah, I'm still getting a hang of it, but anyway, we'll get there. I will still need to do a makeover for this kitchen of mine, for this cooking space of mine. I'll have to either find a way to get the building stones, either go buy 3 of them or 4 of them and use specifically for cooking, or there are those stones which are by the road. I think they use them for maram, for doing the maram road. Maybe I go and collect those ones. They're very heavy, so I'll need to look for transport and maybe collect around 3 and come and cook with them, because this is just a temporary solution which I know is not going to take me far, but I'll have to come up with a better way of cooking for the 3-stoned whatever fireplace. Personally, I would prefer to have the different types of cooking methods. I would prefer to have my gas, to have the charcoal, and to have firewood, and even kerosene, stove. Yeah, because there are those days when you wake up in the morning and you're not in the mood to go looking for firewood and collecting and starting from scratch to light up, or maybe you just want to do a quick meal, maybe an egg, or you just want to warm up some tea or some soup, and it requires you to go through a whole process of lighting firewood. So if I had an alternative method like gas, I'm thinking of how I can be making my own biogas. Yeah, that's what has been on my mind. I don't have cattle yet, but all my neighbors have cows, so cow dung is not something that is not hard to find. I can easily access it. So I was considering finding a simple way of being able to make my own biogas, so that it can come in handy when I don't want to use the firewood. And there goes our lunch. I managed to cook some omena, some okra, and some ugali. Yes, I know sometimes I have a problem with my hands. Yes, when it comes to measuring, I know I have a problem. If you know, you know. So we had a good lunch. Miss Boots enjoyed herself so much because of the fish. Yeah, and it's not something that comes in every day. So yeah, and you can see my fire is still there in the background. I had put up some green grams for supper. Thank you so much, my beautiful lovely, for sticking with me to the end. Let me close this vlog here. I will meet you in the next one, hopefully very soon. And yeah, please like, please share, please comment, please tell me what you think, and let's catch up in the next vlog. So bye.